Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Happy holidays and season's greetings. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck here at USA Global TV, and a big shout out to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I am so excited for our show today. Our show title is A World of Difference. And joining me this and every week, my co-host and friend, Mr. Hardeep Rai. Welcome, sir.
Hi, Jacalyn. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Very well indeed. Really looking forward to the festive season ahead of us. So yeah, great mood.
So are you feeling festive 100%, or is there any stress involved? I know a lot of people are very stressed out at this time of year.
I think if we had to answer that question honestly, there's always some level of stress involved. But I think I'd like to feel that the enjoyment and the excitement of being able to celebrate has sort of taken over us at the moment, Jacalyn.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you. And for people who are just joining our show for the first time, I'm going to spotlight you. I'd love for you to give a little bit of background about you and what you're doing and why we're doing this show.
Thank you, Jacalyn. So we're really doing this show, A World of Difference, to give people of difference from different backgrounds and particular disabilities the opportunity to come forward and share and talk about their lives and their stories in a way to sort of help us to understand what they're doing, but also in a way to inspire others. You know, one of the missions of Kaleidoscope, our company, is to help people with disabilities to find purpose in their lives and to also change perceptions of people that think in a certain way around people with disabilities, and actually help them to understand that people that have disabilities are not actually incapable of achieving things. In fact, they can achieve some remarkable things. And we want this show to be a show whereby we can help to show and demonstrate what some of those things are. And we're not also just after, Jacalyn, sort of people that are great celebrities, although we love people that are well known on the show, but we're also after people that are everyday individuals with everyday challenges that have come up with ways to overcome them. So it's a real show which is meant to be inspirational, but to also give people ideas around disability and difference and what we can really achieve if we all work together.
Very well stated. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, Jacalyn. Well, this is our 5th show now, and it's incredible how it's just sort of taken off, hasn't it?
Yes, and we certainly have to give a big shout out to Mr. Ian Pelham-Turner, who introduced us and had the wonderful idea that we should do a show together. So happy holidays, Ian. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
Well, we've got a great guest today, and I'm just going to give a little bit of background about her. It's kind of interesting how in life you meet people. So there is a networking site, I guess it's called Lunch Club. And Trish will let me know if I'm misquoting this, but we actually were paired together for 45 minutes to have this meeting, and anybody can sign up for it. I'm not a paid spokesperson. It's lunchclub.com. And Trish and I connected right away, and we just started to explore ways that we could work together. So I'm going to play a clip from her organization. She is the founder of Changing Paces, and she's done and accomplished so many things, which we'll get to when she comes out here. But I do want to show this clip before we bring her out. And our guest today is Trish Robichaud. And let's take a look at this clip.
The world is changing, and your company needs to change with it. Whether it's procurement, employment, marketing, or customer service, it's now more important than ever for your business processes to be inclusive to people with disabilities. Hi, I'm Trish Robichaud with Changing Paces, and I'm here to tell you that making your business processes accessible to people with disabilities is simply good for business. accessibility and inclusion are the law. But here's what you may not realize. Disability inclusion is an opportunity, not an obstacle. In fact, a recent 4-year study found that companies that fully embrace disability inclusion had a 30% higher profit margin than those that didn't. Your investment in staff disability inclusiveness training can pay off in areas like innovation, brand recognition, as well as customer and employee satisfaction and loyalty, not to mention productivity and profitability. At Changing Paces, we can help you make that happen for your business. Our experts have real-life experience that will help your team gain insight and best practices they won't get anywhere else. And we can help you create a customized training program to bring your organization into compliance with local and industry regulations. This topic is very close to my heart for me, very personal. Dealing with the challenges of MS for the past 25 plus years and having lost my job as a result of my diagnosis back then, I've made it my mission to bring disability out of the darkness and create a more welcoming environment for people of all abilities. As a pioneer in the field of inclusiveness, our company developed and implemented one of the first accessible customer service training programs in Canada. We provide complete online training solutions that blend with your branding, your policies, and your systems. Between our disability subject matter experts and our technical partners, we can provide you with both the content and the platform that you need to create an evergreen training program that empowers your people while it transforms your organization and your company culture. In short, we make disability inclusion easy in all parts of your business. Contact us now for a quote or consultation at info@changingpaces.com. Your bottom line will thank you.
Welcome to the program, Trish Robichaud from Changing Paces. Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Hi,
Thank you
Trish.
so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, and playing my clip even more so. It's a pleasure to see you again, Dr. J. And pleasure to meet you, Hardeep.
You too, Trish.
Trish, I am just smiling because it took me, I don't know what, a year to be able to say your last name correctly. I think I finally have it right. But Trish, in addition to being an entrepreneur, to being a coach and an author, you're also an incredible public speaker. And I want to say actress. You weren't acting though, but you just did that clip, and that was really impressive.
That was my first shot at a commercial. It was a lot of fun, and the producers were magnificent. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Anybody you want to give a shout out to for that?
Yes, absolutely. I'd love to give a shout out to Jason Reed at jasonreed.com. Reed as in R-E-I-D. He is a media mogul. Love the guy. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome
Thank you so
stuff.
much. So Trish, I'll ask the first question. So you heard the intro that Hardeep gave in the beginning about why we're doing this show. And of course, I invited you to join us. So what would you like to share with the audience when you hear the title, A World of Difference? How does that impact you?
Wow, it hits me like a punch in the head, because it reminds me of how different my life became after disability. You know, we all proceed through life as if, we're invincible, right? And oh, disability, what's that? Oh, none in my family. I'm fine. Oh, my kids are healthy. Oh my goodness. Oh no, I really don't. Not sure I want to attend that event, But before disability, I was your typical, oh my goodness, having a good old time, working hard, playing harder kind of deal. And life just got upside down. Not only did I go blind in my left eye, and within 6 months or so, I was using a wheelchair in a hospital bed. And everything. I had been working 12 years in credit management career and climbing, doing well. And next thing you know, within 9 months, no, within 3 months after my diagnosis, my symptoms started like 6 months before my diagnosis. But within 3 months after my diagnosis, they let me go. And my world is upside down. I went home. The saddest thing is I went home looking forward to going and opening the benefits book that I had from work. That's what my thoughts were when I left my doctor's office, when he told me I had MS, multiple sclerosis. And that's really sad when you think back on it. And it's purely because my employers had already started ramping up the harassment while I was trying to work through the symptoms with my doctors to figure out what was going on. Initially, they thought I had a brain tumor, and I had like 8 weeks off work, and my employer was just not impressed that I was home all summer. Well, nobody else got a summer break, according to her. Anyways, bottom line was I was sick for 8 years after my diagnosis. I had 2 to 3 major relapses a year for 8 years. In that 8 years, I went blind 7 or 8 times in one eye or the other. Knock on wood, never both eyes at the same time. And that transformed my life. And so there's a lot more to the story, but did you guys have any questions or anything before I proceed?
Thank you, Trish. What a great guest, allowing us to ask questions.
Yeah.
Sometimes people take, they just go on. So thank you for that. Hardeep, do you have one?
I do. I mean, well, one's a comment and one's a question. I mean, my comment, Trish, was that in your video that you did at the very beginning, I agree with Jacalyn. I thought it was a brilliant video. It was really clear and it was really easy to understand, and it created a very nice value proposition for the business. So actually I've got a few business questions I want to ask you, but before I do that, given that you've started with a disability, I think when anybody has an acquired disability, they go through that process of change, don't they?
Yes.
How long would you say it took you to come to terms with this huge change that had taken place in your life, Trish?
Probably about 5 years.
Mm.
Ultimately, maybe 10 even. I was too sick to work for 10 years after my diagnosis. The MS was, like I said, 2 to 3 major relapses a year. And the longest remission I had in these 8 years was 3 months. That was the longest remission. But in 2000, I made some major lifestyle changes, and I managed to get a year's remission under my belt. And it was at that point I realized that I had lots of skills that I had taken from corporate and that I had transitioned into volunteer work. And over the 8 years, my volunteering increased incrementally every month, to the point at the end of 8 years, I had been volunteering, or 9 years at that point. I was volunteering 30 hours a week, and I decided I can now go back to work. Yeah. And I decided that because of my experience with my employer, the biggest takeaways for me were, number one, you have to learn how to be a self-advocate. Because if you can't advocate for yourself, you are going to get steamrolled in this world. Okay. And I also knew that God blessed me with a really big mouth, but she also blessed me with a cup full of diplomacy. So I had the formula to do something about what happened to me. And the second thing I learned not only was, that I learned that it didn't have to happen. It didn't have to go down like that. And when I realized it didn't have to go down like that, wow, then I was on a mission. I started my coaching practice in 2003. And I guess that would be it took me about 8 years to transition to your original question, Hardeep, that I didn't know I was transitioning. I didn't know that my life was evolving into something else. And by the time I realized I could go back to work now, I had been providing support counseling to people who had recently been diagnosed with MS. And I'd been doing that 30 hours a week. And it wasn't far off coaching. And so I went back to school, got my coaching certification, and then hung up my shingle in 2003. And so I started out coaching people with disabilities. Very quickly, I realized that because of my tech, I wouldn't say background in terms of education, I'd say experience in terms of hands-on, since the early 80s, I became a business coach. But then in 2005, Ontario, where I live in Canada, legislated accessibility for Ontarians with disabilities. And all of a sudden, public sector and private sector by law, had to train their employees on how to interact with and serve customers with disabilities. Well, that was like, it was something I had been waiting for since I lost my job, the opportunity. And so that's when I knew. So it took me a good 10 years to figure that out, where I was going afterwards.
Do you know,
Thank you for asking me that, Hardeep.
No, I love the way you said you transitioned, but you didn't actually realize you were in a transition, because I think for those of us that acquire a disability, and for me, it was my link to Ishan first, but then it was my own mental health second. It took me a good 5, 6, 7 years to wrestle through that journey. And it's incredible because I work very closely with some entrepreneurs with multiple sclerosis, Trish, and I have a very, very good understanding of the daily challenges that MS can bring. And actually, I mean, so many disabilities manifest in different ways, but you present yourself as very composed and very with it and very professional, but yet behind the scenes, there's a whole different world that you probably have to come to terms with on a daily basis. And you just go through what you go through, Trish. But, I always try and highlight that, people with disabilities work 10 times as hard sometimes as people without disabilities, but the outside world never know it. They never realize it. They never see it. They just see this very composed, very professional outlook. So I think, I have a huge amount of respect for
the best example
what you've been through.
The best example to what is like taking a bloody shower. And, I'm sure Dr. J, some days you feel the same way. That just taking a shower and washing my hair is like, I have to rest afterwards for like a good hour afterwards, right? And it takes like 3 times as long as it would take anybody. Well, okay, come on. Some people take really quick showers. So I'm going to say my shower takes like 40 minutes, okay? Because everything has to be done slower than anybody else, right? And it has to be done seated as well. Good example to what you're talking about, Hardeep. And that's just one example.
That's just one. And do you feel that the career that you've created now with your coaching business, I'm guessing that one of the reasons you started that, apart from the fact that there was a need, was because it helped you to create flexibility in your life to be able to work at your own pace? Was that one of the drivers?
Absolutely. I got to tell you, when I decided that it was time to go back to work, the last thing in the world I was ever going to do was put myself in a position that I was going to feel guilty for being sick. And I had had too much of that in my last employer. And so I had to be self-employed. That's just all there was to it.
Mhm.
But I had been a closet entrepreneur my whole life. I always had a second, you know, a second thing going on. I was working full time all my life. So yeah, the entrepreneur kicked in.
Clinton. And what do you think? So you've been a coach, did you say since 2003, right? So that's
Yes.
nearly, wow, that's coming up to 20 years, coming up
Yes.
to, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And do you coach entrepreneurs with disabilities from any particular kind of disability, or is it across the board?
Totally across the board.
Hmm.
Totally
Okay.
across the board. Yeah. I would say the vast majority of people often have um, some kind of mental health issue, maybe even have discovered it later in life. Even, I coach a lot of baby boomers, and yeah, so whether it's mental health or whether I definitely coach people with MS, there's lots of that goes on. But yeah, any kind of chronic illness, or even I have a gentleman in Montreal who has a significant physical disability as well. So, but the commonality is everybody is wanting to earn.
They
Everybody
want
wants
to.
to earn. Yep. They're
Trish, a
tired of
question I
being,
have. Oh,
yes, go ahead.
a question I have for you. You mentioned about you weren't going to be able to work in corporate anymore, and I know you and I have talked about this, and that was the primary reason that I left corporate as well, because with my health issues, I just couldn't travel and do what it was that was
Yeah.
required. When you work with people in your coaching practice, do you find that most of these entrepreneurs left the corporate world because of a disability, or is it really unrelated?
Hmm.
Yes, most of the time they've left because of their disability.
Hmm.
Or they've never managed to get into 9 to 5 world. Yeah. Now, probably I'd say it's probably 2/3 left corporate, 1/3 never managed to get into, because it's not uncommon for people with
Hmm.
disabilities to never do anything other than self-employment because
Hmm.
they've always had a difficult time finding a job.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And did you, when you've done all this, fascinating for me, Trish, because as you know, I'm in the world of entrepreneurship as well, and I wouldn't necessarily say we coach entrepreneurs. I would say it's more mentoring, and it's more business focused, right? So it's kind of
Mhm.
around the startup phase and growing the businesses, and then
Right.
helping them to build them. Do you find that you've come across any common threads or themes with all the different people with disabilities that you've coached over the years? Like, are there similar characteristics that a lot of them may have?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I call myself a work-life inclusion coach. I
Mm,
use the word inclusion because we like that word, but also because when you live with disability, it's really important to plan your life around your health, your business around your health, right?
mm,
To learn how to make them include each other, right? And so that is a common theme. The other piece of it is that we put ourselves last. Okay. We look to the business. We take care of the business before we take care of
yeah,
ourselves,
yeah.
just like we take care of our children before we take care of ourselves. All right. And so that common theme where it leads, Hardeep, is it gives me an opportunity to give them a big ass permission slip to take damn good care of themselves. All
Mm,
right.
mm,
To guard their health like it's an infant, like it's an infant child they have to protect.
mm,
And their health is that vital. Because if you build your business without regard for
mm,
your health will eventually take you down and the
mm,
business down. I'm sorry,
mm,
I hate to predict doom and gloom, but if you don't honor and accommodate your health first, you're
mm,
setting yourself up for self-destruction.
mm. You know
Trish,
what?
I was just going to
Go,
say,
Jacalyn,
I am
please.
actually laughing here inside because you were so spot on. And when I think about working in corporate, having to get on a train and go an hour and a half to get to New York, getting on a plane, having to go to Paris, with the way my health was, it was so nerve wracking. It was literally preparing days in advance before I could even go and do something. And now I have the perfect career because I don't have to go anywhere and my health has blossomed. So it just goes to show you that they are really connected.
Absolutely. And I get three shout outs to you, and kudos and all of the rest. Congratulations, Dr. J, because you managed to bypass the inevitable by making a choice at the right time in your life to intentionally. Now, I know what you did. Most people never have the balls to do. Okay. The woman gave up like a 6-figure corporate career to get on the radio earning Zippo for a long time, you know? And the balls to do that is amazing. But you know what? It speaks to Jacalyn. Dr. Jacalyn, it speaks to the fact that your capacity for self-love, self-care was there all along. But you know what? I think a big part of what it caused you to do that is because you know you have to be there for your mother.
Yes, very true. Very true. Yeah. Well said. Thank you.
So thank you to Joyce for being the stimulus for all of this. All of this. How many radio shows, how many shows she's gotten, how many listeners, and this is all because Joyce moved in.
Oh, brilliant.
I'll have to let her know. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Joyce.
I was going to ask, mention a comment actually as well, Trish, when you said what you said about our health. One of the things we did recently is we've set up a parent group to support parents of disabled children, okay, or children with special needs, as we call them. And this question came up, which is, how do you cope with the situation about having your child? And I was just watching the WhatsApp streams come through, and actually the first thing they spoke about was exactly what you spoke about, which is guarding your own health. Because come what may, whatever you think you can do for your children, if you are not of sound mind and sound health to look after them, it's not going to happen, because sooner or later you're going to crack. And I think this is something I, as an entrepreneur, if I came to you for coaching, would say that I've struggled with for a very, very long time, because having worked in the city, corporate world, Jacalyn, you know, and you as well, Trish, we're familiar with the pace, right? It's a whole different ballgame. And then having that pressure of running your own business and your own balance sheet, that's a whole different pressure. So it is that stress, and it's managing boundaries, isn't it? I guess.
Oh, that's a really huge part of it. That is huge. Honestly, Hardeep, boundaries that's one of the first places we start. Like that, you know, I always start with values. Okay. Then we look at, you know, what's going on, what, you know, where are you at in your life with regards to those values? Okay. So how well are those values represented in your life from 1 to 10? Okay. And then we look at which values are not represented. And usually that's where your boundaries are really sketchy. Okay. And it's through tightening up those values that we start to feel, to tighten up those boundaries, that we start to feel our values more. You know, we feel them, they resonate with us. They're not just here, you know, and here, what I want to be, and here I know I feel I want to be, but they're also here now. Like you feel them up and down and throughout. By tightening those boundaries up, you're giving yourself the space to love yourself. Seriously. Without boundaries, the love bleeds out to people who need it, but who take it for granted often. Okay. But when you think of those boundaries like a fence, okay, they're a fence. It's a fence that breathes. Okay. Because everything has to be flexible in life, all right? But at the same time, the boundaries keep the love from bleeding, where it doesn't need to go. Okay, we have places around that perimeter where we might allow a huge gush of love in this direction because it's a child and whatever. Okay, but as long as we're clear where those boundaries are and where they should be, and we're aware that we mess on the boundaries once in a while, but if we're clear that it only happens 3 or 4 times a year, then we're doing pretty good with the self-love. Okay. But if we're messing on those boundaries all the time, self-love is impossible. I'm all about analogies. Sorry, guys.
No, listening to you is almost, the word I'm going to use for you, Trish, is mesmerizing, actually.
Aw,
The way you
that's so
speak.
sweet. Thank you.
But I really mean that. The way you speak is really slow. It's really clear. It's with charisma. It's with authority. And I'm listening to you, because I think that what I find is that with a lot of the people that I'm surrounded by that have disabilities, especially those with mental health, they and this is inadvertent. They're not doing it on purpose. It's inadvertent, but they can be exceptionally draining on your mind and your time, and you start to live their problems and you start to answer their calls outside of hours, and and I think managing that is a constant struggle, because on the one hand I want to feel that we can help everybody, on the other hand I have to recognize that we can't help everybody, and it's getting that right, isn't it?
Yeah. One of the first things that I learned was these boundaries, and these, as you're talking about, having people in your life that can be draining and can have clients. I have some clients that when I hang up the phone, I'm bouncing. I have so much energy when I get off the phone, because they energize me, they inspire me, they impress the hell out of me, but then sometimes there's clients that they have a really hard time pulling it together, and maybe you're trying to pull it together, the same thing over and over again, and from month to month, well, I learned that I have to let those clients go. But I don't say to them, you're draining me and I have to let you go.
Yeah, of course.
I let them know that, I think what I tell them is, I think there's something standing in your way. You and I don't have the chemistry to land it, to figure out what it is. So you know what? I really would encourage you to try another coach or try another therapy of some kind. All right. And then come back to me. Because once you got that block gone, right, then maybe we can work together. So I asked them to take a temporary break from coaching, and it's more palatable for them. It's far less hurtful. Okay. And I am being honest that there's something that's not working between us, right? Obviously I'm having trouble getting to that, whatever that thing is, that's the source of that thing that's blocking them. That I truly would love to speak to them again when that block was gone, right? So I'm being completely honest there. And the other thing, sorry, go ahead.
No, after you, Trish, please.
The other thing on the same thread, the other thing is I taught myself how to say, I'm sorry, I have a commitment at that time. Guess what? My commitment is a bath. Okay. Or my commitment is a Stephen King novel. It doesn't matter. But I have a commitment at that time. And I couldn't, in all honesty, say to somebody, I have another client. But I had to find a way to language no very gracefully.
Yeah. Do you know, I was just about to make that point, Trish, which is, and I'm not going to call it my New Year's resolution, because we always break our New Year's resolutions, or most of us do. But I think that one of the things I have to learn to do is to be able to say no graciously, exactly as you just said, because I think in the moment you always get very enthusiastic and you mean it when you say yes, and then all of a sudden when that begins to drain your time, you think, oh my god, what do I let myself in for, right? And it's sort of being honest, because it's, I think if you say no to that person early enough, it's a lot easier to shoulder that blow than to go down the line with them a little bit and then say no. So,
Absolutely, because if you tell them no up front, no matter
Yeah.
how you tell it, okay, they will find someone else.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
if you let them in and lay some foundation for them, then they feel like you're abandoning them.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, Jacalyn, I'm doing my usual. I'm asking lots of, was there anything that you wanted
No,
to?
go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So I just wanted to move now the conversation, Trish, to the video actually, and what you were talking about, disability awareness training for corporates. And you said some fascinating things about that report that actually prove that when companies are more inclusive, they're 30% more profitable.
30%. It's staggering, isn't it? That's staggering.
It is staggering. So I have 3 questions in one. Okay. So with corporates, how do you feel they were different before COVID, during COVID, and we're still not out of COVID, but in a way, some people think we're getting out of COVID. So kind of the before, during, and after. How do you think corporates are beginning to change their minds when it comes to inclusion, diversity, and inclusion?
I'm gonna make this very numerical. Okay, I'm gonna say before COVID, we had grown from this is out of 10. If 10 was perfect inclusion or at least perfect attitude, I'm going to say before COVID, we were maybe a 4. We had climbed from a 2 to a 4 over the last 20 years. 20 years, okay?
Wow.
From 2 to a 4. And as I've been in this business for, well, even before I started my business, I was supporting people with disabilities for 10 years before that. Okay.
Wow.
And people who also had corporate problems, right? Anyways, so 2 to a 4. During COVID, I think we stepped back a little to a 3. All right. I think we lost some ground because when solutions started coming out from governments, people with disabilities weren't in any of the solutions. They were an afterthought as usual. Okay. But now, and I hate to use the term post-COVID because who the hell knows when we're going to be post-COVID, but if we want to say now, all right, now we're past the most of us are past the 4th or 5th wave, right? Or past the 4th wave anyway. I think things are warming up again. I really do. I would say if we slipped from a 4 to a 3, I'd say now we are a 5 looking at a 6. Because in the last, I'm gonna say, I market my supporting entrepreneurs with disabilities service, but I don't really market my disability inclusion consultancy. I only earn when people find my website. So that tells me how active the industry is. Okay.
Fascinating.
And I get on average, I'm going to say, in the last 10 years, I'm going to say 2 to 3 inquiries a month. Or excuse me, 2 to 3 inquiries a year. Okay, they're very infrequent. They're very infrequent, but they're usually big projects. Okay. All right. Now, in the last 3 months, I got 2 inquiries in December. It's not even over yet. Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a change happening, isn't there?
There's a change happening.
There's a transition.
Honestly, there is definitely a change happening.
And is there any particular reason you don't market your inclusion business and you focus more on entrepreneurs? Is that because you're more passionate about coaching entrepreneurs, or is that where you just see that there's more demand?
Couple of reasons. Number one, coaching one-on-one is far more satisfying.
Yeah,
To see like over like a year's time working with somebody, the difference in their lives and difference in their business. Okay. That is so satisfying. And it's like, because you've empowered that person, right? That's so satisfying. You don't get the same level of satisfaction at a corporate level at all, ever. Like, even if it's a big project, you still have to struggle to get feedback from your client. It's like that always, right? And you don't see the same results, right? But at the other piece, the why I do the corporate is because God blessed me with a big mouth. This is, I'm not, I say that jokingly, but I feel like I'm a conduit. Okay. I feel like 9 times out of 10, when I, offer my counseling on something or my consulting on something, I feel like it's not me talking. It's coming from more of a divine, I don't feel like I'm old enough to be this brilliant. I say that totally tongue in cheek, okay? Seriously. God, I'm driven. I'm driven by my higher power. That just, and the corporate, I have to, and of course the corporate is the money, right? So that's the other plus on the other side, right? Because seriously, the first 15 years or 10 years in my coaching part of my practice, working one-on-one, I was working with people who couldn't afford my fees. So I had a sliding scale. So I would never have paid the bills on that alone. Now, maybe over the years it's gotten better, but still, but the corporate's always been the one that paid for the holidays and whatnot,
carries.
Trish, I have a comment and a question. The first is, I thank you so much. You taught me to really set boundaries, because as you know, from in the beginning, when you met me, I was kind of, oh yes, all over the place. And with health issues, that's not a smart move. So thank you for that. The second thing is that you don't even know this, Trish, but I have titled the chapter of my book, that chapter that's yours. You're called The Visionary. So
lovely.
Nice.
Really nice.
I like that. Nice. Thank you. Thanks, Dr. J. That's nice.
Thank you. And
Appreciate
my last
that.
is a question about your brand new coaching program. Can you share more with our audience about that?
Yes. In the spring of 2022. Oh my God, it feels like a science fiction movie when I say that. The spring of 2022, I am launching a program called The Wave Effect. All right. And it is for entrepreneurs with disabilities who are tired of not having a stable income because of their health. I'm going to teach them how to use the wave effect to stabilize their income, and so that they can be earning even when their health is rocking the boat. All right. And we talk about well-being. Wave is WAV without an E, just to be indifferent, right? Memorable. WAV stands for well-being, automation, and vision. And the well-being is all about, self-care. Self-care is the first thing you think of when you think well-being, right? But self-care is the first one. The second one is the environment. Okay. And then the third one, oh my goodness, it's escaping me right now. You shall forgive me. I have MS, lousy brain power there, short-term memory problems. Anyways, and then the A in the wave effect, now the focus is on the business, all right? And it's all about automation. It's automation in technology, which is the first thing we think of naturally. but it's also automation and delegation. Because you know what? Automation to me is anything that I don't have to have hands on. Okay. So learning how to delegate, many of us have difficulty delegating, especially people who have disabilities. Okay. I'll tell you why. Because we are averse to asking for help. Okay. It just comes with disability. It's just we don't want to ask for help, right? Especially those of us, that are, power players and overachievers and, and then the third piece of automation is about systems. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about. All right. And then finally, the V in the wave is for first imagination. Okay, stepping back into your imagination, stepping back in time to what it is that you wanted to do when you were a child. Let's look at that again. Why is it that it got pushed aside in your teens and your college years, right? What is that? And how might you make that useful now? The second piece is focus. All right, so we look at the imagination, have a real good look at what you really want to do instead of whatever it is you got pushed into in life. And then focus is honing in on how you can apply the skills you have to that new vision that we're coming up with. Okay. And then finally, the third piece of vision is confidence. And that's because once you've honed the vision, the confidence comes all on its own. And so the wave, and through the wave, okay, I talk about riding the wave, which is something that people don't usually talk about. They talk about leveling things out. Okay. Okay, I got bipolar, so I enjoy the manic phase, okay? But those of us who are overachievers, we all enjoy the high end of life. So I teach people how to ride the wave, okay? Enjoy the wave, harness the wave in your heart, okay? But when you are at the crest of the wave, keep your eye on the beach. Plan where you're going to land, because if you're not sure about your landing, you are going to land smack on that beach on your head with a surfboard over your back, broken. Okay? That's what will happen if you don't plan the landing. This is where we get caught up. This is why we suffer from riding the wave, is because we don't have the forethought to think through the steps to take us down safely to our destination. We get caught up in the good time. So I teach you to ride the wave, healthy, proactively, and love
Wow,
it
that
and
was
enjoy it.
powerful, Trish, wasn't it,
Very,
Hardeep?
very.
That's the new coaching program.
I was going to say, Trish, I mean, what's fortuitous about this program is that we've actually met, and Jacalyn, you were kind enough to introduce us as well. And I would love to see if there was a way that we could do more together in some way, because we're in the same world, right? So
that would be amazing, Hardeep.
I
would so love that. I'd be honored. My goodness. Yes.
No, for sure. That goes without saying.
Cool. I would be thrilled. I love when people collaborate together. That is just such a gift. And Trish, I do want to mention that you are having a very generous offer for anyone who's interested in your brand new coaching program, Wave. Mention this show and they get a 25% discount.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
Love to have you.
All right, folks, that's the end of our show. Believe it or not, it went by so quickly. Trish, we've been sharing your information, but what's the best way for people to reach you who are on the radio and they can't read the banner?
They can get me at Changing Paces. That's paces as in steps, slowing down. Changingpaces.com, PACES.com. Or they can get me at Trish at changingpaces.com. Or they can reach me at 905-967-3014.
Thank you, Trish. This is a great show. I really appreciate you. And I'm so glad that you were here and that you two have connected and met.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It's been
wonderful. Thank you, Trish. Loved meeting you.
Yes, look forward to our next opportunity.
All right.
Let's do
Thanks
right.
again, Trish. Bye-bye.
Love your
Happy holidays.
background. Yes, thank you. Love your background, by the way. Yes, and Merry Christmas to both and to your
Thank
family.
Merry
you.
Christmas to you
Merry
too.
Christmas.
Trish.
Happy holidays. Oh, she disconnected herself.
Do
And
you know,
Hardeep,
Jacalyn,
yes.
I'm very jealous now, because if you're naming a chapter after her in your book,
Yes.
then I'm curious about what my chapter is going to be, Jacalyn.
So I'll just share a little information. The book is, I haven't announced the title yet. It's my second book, but the book is where I have interviewed people who have overcome extreme adversity and they've come out on the other side and they are now inspiring others. So the book is actually finished, but I am working on my next one, so you can be in that one if you would like.
Oh, yes. Love it. I'm happy now.
All right, good. And Hardeep, what is the best way for people to reach you, and who would you like to reach out? And if they want to be on this show, what should they do?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, if anybody wants to come onto the show, then please visit drjacalyn.com and express your interest through book a session. And then find our show, A World of Difference. If you'd like to reach me, then you can reach me, Hardeep Rai, through LinkedIn, CEO of Kaleidoscope Group, or you can approach us through our website, which is www.kaleidoscope.group. So please do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. And actually, most importantly, I'd like to wish you a very Merry Christmas, first of all. And for those that don't celebrate Christmas, a very merry festive season and a wonderful new year ahead. I think a lot of us are looking forward to putting 2021 behind us and looking forward to the pleasant surprises that 2022 brings forward. So thank you to all our guests so far in this show. And Jacalyn, a huge thanks to you as well for this opportunity and for us sort of, for you giving us this platform to be able to speak and share some stories. I really enjoyed speaking to Trish today. And it's funny because even when you don't know someone on the show, you're just very naturally inquisitive, aren't you? In terms of trying to learn about them and just understand them better.
Absolutely. I just had an idea that you two are going to connect. So just like Ian had an idea that we would connect, it just keeps going. It's the ripple effect.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you again. I wish you a blessed holiday, and we will be back next week with another episode of this show, A World of Difference. So thank you for being here. All right.
Thank you.
But everybody have a wonderful holiday season. We look forward to seeing you again. We do have another show coming up, The Listening Mentor. So stay where you are. We've got a great role play coming up. Until then, take care. Bye, Hardeep.
Bye. Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye, everyone.